Hello, everybody. My name's Dr. Cheryl Meyer. Today we're going to talk about your life like the Lord of the Rings, your spiritual path, your psychological. I'm a psychologist in my day job, and I call myself a lyrical psychologist because I use art and music to convey deep psychological truths and spiritual truths, because you're meant to know them. You're meant to know them, and I can't just like spoon feed these to you. But you know, a lot of the ones I've come by, they're hard won. These are like hard won wisdom and graces. It's like you get to the end of the Lord, and you can have not read the Lord of the Rings and still come along with us on this video, and you'll be able to understand what I'm saying. But you know, you get to the end of the Lord of the Rings, and Frodo didn't just, walk through the park and then all of a sudden everyone's saved. No, I want you to know, I heard this morning, I heard a teacher of mine say that, divine love, well, he was talking about Christ, but I welcome all religions, right? Tolkien was a devout Catholic, but obviously look how he wrote that book. He wrote The Lord of the Rings in such a way that we enter into the story, we understand the heroic journey that we're all called to. All of us, each of us are called to a heroic journey. But this man said this morning, he said, well, he was talking about divine love, actually. He was talking about both. How the Egyptians were saved out of Israel. The Israelites were saved out of Egypt. Like us, okay? It's a picture of us in the wilderness of the things that we keep going back to in our lives, the illusions, the things that are less than, He said, God didn't save us. Divine love didn't save us so that we have no labor in this life, so that we have no heroic quest. We could just sit back and go, oh, look, God's saving us. Jesus is saving us. I don't have to do anything. That's a heresy. That's a misunderstanding of why we're here. God saved us. Divine love saved us so that all our actions aren't in futility, so that what we're doing is is not for anything. Now, let me help you understand it. If you've read The Lord of the Rings or watched the movies, then you can understand this. There's a man named Saruman, right? And he was good. He was good like Gandalf. And he kept studying the dark arts. And, sometimes when you want to keep growing in your spiritual life, you sometimes... people can go over, I understand this, and think that it's a spiritual buffet and think that you're supposed to just pick up from everything that's there. And if you understand it, you'll learn. You'll learn through experience, or you can learn from listening right now. From my experience, that's what we can learn from other people. Is that it's not meant to be a spiritual buffet. Divine love has everything. God has everything you need. It says in Psalm, so this is a song, right? In Psalm 144 at the end, a Psalm of David, right? It says, blessed are those whose God is the Lord, which is the I am that I am. Blessed, you're in bliss. You're in a happy, peaceful, equanimous state. You're in a state of divine peace, this peace that's given to you. When what you have first is divine love, that's where your heart goes first. And then I kept hearing, I listened to my intuition, I kept hearing on the drive here, for the other way, and I'll go back to the Lord of the Rings, their God is their belly and their end is destruction. And so when your God, with a little g, right, but you've put it in the big place in your life, is your belly, your God is running after what your egotism says, what your mind says, what the illusions are in this world. When you run after that, your end is destruction, right? Your end is, okay, so let's go back to Lord of the Rings so we understand because it was coming to me so beautifully. And I only have a few minutes to describe this to you, you know. And I want to do it well, but I just have to let go of all that, right? Saruman was this good wizard, and he turned bad. And he thought, oh, well, it looks like who has the power right now is you know, Sauron over Mordor. He's the dark wizard, you know, I mean the dark force, let's say, that wants the ring of power, that says, oh, just give me this little ring, it means nothing to me, when really he knows he made it. He gave these rings to men and to dwarfs, and not the elves. They were kind of separate, but he tried to. But then he made this one ring that would rule them all. And so he took from his evil power and he gave them powers. And they thought, look at how powerful I am by taking this ring, right? But then he made a ring, one ring, to rule them all. And Frodo, by chance, got it through Bilbo. Not by chance, by fate, by divine destiny, by miracles, by luck. Tolkien talks a lot about luck. I just put the quote of his about luck in my last video description, right? So understand that Frodo Baggins, they go to Elrond's house, and there's a council, and Boromir, the man, goes with them, and Aragorn, the man who's meant to be king, who's a ranger, and Gimli, the dwarf, and I'm thinking already ahead, you know, and Legolas, the elf, and then Pippin and Merry and Sam go with Frodo, and they're his friends, they're his hobbit friends, right? And Pippin and Merry and Sam, they don't know what they're getting into. They've never left the Shire before. They've never gone out into the wide world. Now, Frodo happens to have the ring because he got it from Bilbo. And I'm like, Tolkien, forgive me for sharing the outline of the story. This could be like, you know, a review of the book or something, right? Because I never want to take from someone else's creative stuff. I want you to engage in the book yourself. Go enter into it. I cry so much when I read that book. I learn so much every time I'm reading it again. I read it all the time now. I went to Tolkien's house, but it doesn't matter about me. What I'm talking to you about is that your life is just as meaningful as Bilbo Baggins, as Frodo Baggins, as Aragorn in that story. Aragorn, who becomes king, who bows to Frodo, you know, who's nothing, who's a halfling, you know. He's just high off the ground, you know. And so what I'm talking about is you are a soul and you're in a body. And this soul has an end, like this tree, right? Tolkien loved trees. And if you think trees are used a lot in the Holy Scriptures to teach us, I was just getting this image of what we are as a tree. It's like if this seed wasn't planted to become this, it wouldn't have never ever become this. Now, what a lot of the mystic teachers teach us is that we are like that seed. And unless you die to yourself, unless you engage in these disciplines of learning how to die to your outer self, which presents itself as your real self. Your egotism says, nope, this is all there is. Run after what your flesh wants. Run after that girl, that guy, that relationship, that money in your bank, that job, that prestige, those likes, that getting famous, that car, that whatever, you know. It says to run after those. And divine love calls you to something higher, you know, but it's important. God will give you clues along the way to wake up to what he's called you to. God is beyond he or she. God is the I am. Blessed are those, blessed in bliss, in paradise, in love are those whose God is the I am, is the Lord. It's a capital Lord. That means the I am that I am, the isness that we all came from. And so it doesn't mean, oh, God saved us, now I can just stay in Elrond's house in Rivendell, you know, and just be on those comfy beds and have meals all day, right? No, he had to go out. But understand, like Frodo, that your life is not in vain when you do this. All your activities, your actions are not in vain when you do this. That's what God is saving you from. Not from not doing those actions, but from them not being futile. That means, like, even if Aragorn or like Gandalf does, you know, like Gandalf dies in Moria, you know, because he understands that the quest that Frodo is on, he must complete the quest. We are like this tree. We're meant to grow into something different, grow into what God made us to become. And if you die along that quest, if you are like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and you face the fiery furnace and you don't know if you're going to die or not, and you face, like Sam thought Frodo was dead by the spider, you know, if you face that, if you face it for good, if you're doing it for the true good, then it's not in vain. None of your actions are in vain, even if you die doing them. Even if, like, I end up having no money, let's say, because I keep making these videos instead of going to more of a regular job or whatever, right? All of us are called on this quest. I wish you love. I hope this got conveyed to you in some manner. I always talk about all of this all the time in all my videos. Much love.